Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk, episode 316. Troy Gudgel. Who? You might not know who Troy is. You've probably heard of BBT Fab or Intek OTTO. That's INTEK OTTO, Intek OTTO, SEMA series.
And then we jump into what we call our classic truck mirror, which is what I have on my 77, which was our first square body mirror, which was kind of like a hybrid between the sport mirror and the Dumbo. So again, my personal truck. So that's where that mirror came from. I'm like, we're making mirrors. I can't have my own truck and not have a set of our mirrors on it. So we built those mirrors specifically, but I wanted something, my truck had the sport mirror on it, which was smaller. And I wanted something a little bit bigger that had a little bit more visibility. However, I didn't want to jump up to the Dumbo mirror. So we kind of blended that Dumbo mirror and that sport mirror into something a little bit bigger than the sport, but not nearly as big and bulky as the Dumbo mirror. But our key feature in all these mirrors is that typically, like on my truck with the sport mirrors on it, you would get up to 70, 80 miles an hour and then things start moving all over the place. And there's nothing that sucks more than having to adjust the passenger side mirror while you're the only one in the truck. And so all of our mirrors feature a fixed housing. So the housing does not move and the mirror pivots in the housing. So it blocks the wind. So for instance, we just put 1,900 miles on my truck 2 weeks ago on a road tour, and I never touched the mirrors one time. And I think that's something to be said about the product versus the old classic mirrors or any of these style mirrors on why we're building these and why they cost so much is because they look good, they're nice, but the key thing here is that they're actually functionable. You can see out of them, you can use them, and you don't have to mess with them. Set them and forget them.
Damn, son.
Hey guys, let me tell you about LMC Truck. Keeping generations on the road. Think about that. It's pretty deep. So whether your truck was handed down or something you went out and bought, odds are you were handed a bunch of paperwork, maybe a folder. In that folder was probably the catalog. You know the one, the most up-to-date and detailed catalog available today. It's like an encyclopedia for our trucks. Their website is just as detailed and informative. lmctruck.com. lmctruck.com. So whether you're restoring old memories or creating new ones, LMC Truck is here to help. They're more than just a parts company. They truly understand the lifestyle and passion of owning a classic truck. So get out there and get to work on your truck and know that LMC is here to help. You can get online, lmctruck.com, and order your free catalog today. Keeping generations on the road. lmctruck.com.
Let me tell you what Melba Toast is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man, he's a television repairman, got the ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth flapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Wetch.
What is up? What is up, C10 Nation? Back in the saddle, ready to rock, ready to roll. A little SEMA series. I thought, I've been busy working on my 1974 K5 Blazer. SEMA 2025. Yeah, got like less than 100 days and a lot of work to do. So I've been pretty busy. Haven't even posted that much on social. I'd like to get to a certain point and then give you guys some progress. But in between, I thought I would do some SEMA series pod, especially working with some of those folks that I am on this build. So we've got Troy Gudgel from Intek OTTO, and we're going to run their iBooster cover. So excited about that. And just thought I'd bring you Intek and what they've been doing. You might know them for their mirrors, a lot of high-end aftermarket stuff. So we'll talk about that with Troy, and you'll kind of get the gist and just, I guess a brief introduction to what they do and what they provide and their high level of customer service that goes with their parts. So, SEMA series, I'm going to push these out. I do have one. I do not know why. I have not gotten this one with Ben Napier, who is homegrown. That's the Laurel, Mississippi. They've got the TV show, I believe, is that on HGTV? And I just have not taken the time to sit down and clean that one up and get it ready. I just want it to be really good. Of course, you got a high-profile guest, and I just have not gotten that one out. So, been slacking on that one, but I will get that out because I need to get rolling on it. That'll be 317. I've kind of dangled that one out there for a little bit and just really need to get that one done. So we're going to get into the SEMA series again. Just been busy, wrenching, and having a good time. It's just there's a lot going on. So appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate Troy sitting down. A few other ones I've got scheduled. We've got Steve from Billet Badges. I've got Rick from Bear Brakes. I've got Steven from Off-Road Design, and that's probably going to take us through that. Those will be August. So definitely going to be getting some shorter ones out, but quicker. Bam, 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 bam. I just recorded this one with Troy this morning and just going to get it straight out. So hope you guys are doing great. Hope you are having a great summer. Obviously, we're getting ready for the Get Down just around the corner. Again, that's going to be here. I mean, honestly, if SEMA's less than 100 days and the Get Down is probably about 100 days out. So I might have to look at that one, but pretty crazy to think. We'll be all hanging out in Glendale at the Cardinal Stadium, having a great time. So right around the corner, SEMA, the Get Down, and then we're going to go to Good Guys Southwest Nationals, which is the following week. So it'll be a busy month in November. All right, guys. I hope you enjoy episode 316 with Troy. Check out Intek Auto and or BBT Fab. Again, that's a kind of a unique spelling, INTEK OTTO. Mirrors, firewall panels, covers, a lot of billet, and some really high-end parts. Thanks for tuning in. As always, have a great day. Have a great week. Peace. Late. All right. What up, C10 Nation? We're back. We've got Troy Gudgel. Troy is the man, the myth, the legend behind BBT Fab and Intek Auto. So lately, if you don't follow BBT, you might have seen either myself or some different companies and posts and social media guys posting up some Intek Auto. And when you think Intek Auto, it's INTEK OTTO. So a little bit unique on the auto. Cool perspective. Troy, thanks for taking time to sit down with C10 Talk. Appreciate your time, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, so a little SEMA series. What we're doing now is up until SEMA, simultaneously to me wrenching throughout the day, is working with the companies and getting them on and talking about some of the different things that they offer. We were fortunate enough to get the Intek booster, and we're going to pair that with a Bear master cylinder, and that is it's a unique unit. And the big thing is you guys made that cover plate. So before we get into the part stuff, tell us a little bit about who Troy is.
Yeah, so originally I started with BBT Fabrications. We build high-end hot rods, muscle cars, trucks, kind of whatever you name it. And we just saw a gap in the market for certain products. And so as we needed stuff for our builds, we started, just designing one-off stuff. And it just got to the point where you have other people asking, hey, I'd like to buy a set of those, or other customers in the shop seeing us, a set of mirrors that we did a one-off. Like, I'd like to run those on my car. And just started thinking about things from a different perspective, from the one-off to, like, let's maybe think about how we can manufacture these and produce something, because there is this gap in the market. And that's kind of how Intek Auto spawned off.
So one of the questions I had sent you, but it is, does the market drive it, or does, your brain and getting together and say, okay, because we build such radical rides over at BBT, we get to play around with that. Do you guys sit down and say, hey, as a group, a collective, let's throw this together? What do you guys think about this? And let's use this as an example. Your new square body mirrors. I mean, they're pretty bitchin'. They're pricey. They take a lot of labor. Obviously, it takes a big old piece of billet to make that. How does that spawn?
Yeah, I mean, typically it's the mirror thing's a little bit different than some of the other products that we make, but typically it's because we either see the need on a vehicle that we're building or we're approached by somebody. Those particular mirrors, we were approached by Roadster Shop because they're building those Legend Series trucks, and those mirrors just, when you get up to higher speeds, those factory mirrors just want to fold over and they never want to stay in place. And you got a company like Roadster Shop building really high end vehicles. They can't have, these mirrors, these customers buying these trucks and getting in them and having these mirrors that are not functioning properly. So, that was not necessarily something that we saw the avenue to go down, but we're approached and it made sense to kind of collaborate with them on that. And so that's kind of where that came from. It's a super extremely pricey product. It's our most expensive product, but there's just a lot there. There's a lot of, billet pieces to start and a lot of design and engineering that goes into those. And they're definitely for sure not for everybody. I mean, it's going to be a select market that's interested in those. And that's okay. We're okay with that. We know we're not going to move a ton of them, but we know that the product that we have provided is a quality product. And if somebody gets behind them, it's easier to complain about the cost than it is, the quality or the functionality. So, we know they're going to work well. Yes, they are expensive.
Okay, what about your I like that too. And just for the audience, it's not just what I call the Dumbo mirror. It's not just the Dumbo mirror. It's got power and there's so many different things going on there. You really kind of think, you know, they should have had those from more so from the factory at that point. I believe they did make that evolution eventually, but like you said, they like to fold in, and so having that adjustment there. Another product that I think really, even before the mirrors came out, was your firewall panel that you guys created. That thing's really badass and really just fills a void.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same deal. Like, honestly, that was made for my personal truck. I've got a 77 C10 and it's not like a typical BBT build where we built it from the ground up. It's just been, my personal project and I've just been tinkering on it here and there. About 7 years ago, I LS swapped it in 6-speed manual transmission. And then a couple years ago, I put suspension on it. So it's just been like your average guy building it in his garage. And I put vintage air in it last summer and I didn't want to weld up on the firewall. The engine bay looks like really stock looking, and I didn't want to have to like get in there and weld on the firewall because again, like this is my personal project, and I'm not trying to tear it down and have it shut down for 2 months, a year, or whatever. But I didn't want to put that flat sheet metal panel that Vintage Air sells on the firewall, so we just designed up something in house that kind of mimicked the factory heater box that would bolt on. Pretty simply, so that way we could get it done quick. And I never thought that was going to be an item that we would even sell just because I thought the market wasn't there for the price point. It was just something to me. I was like, okay, it's an expensive piece of billet, but it's a lot cheaper than welding up the hole in the firewall, body working it, painting it, and then the downtime that my truck's going to have. And then after we made it, I started getting some people that were interested in it. And the next thing you know, we're producing them as a product and selling them, and they actually sell pretty dang good. It's an expensive product, but when you trade labor and time for what that product costs, it's cheap in the big scheme of things.
Yeah, it's a unique piece for the audience. I'll make sure I post that up. You talked a little bit about your 77. That's a brown and tan, correct?
Correct, yeah.
That's a fun truck, and it's fun to me from the outside looking in because for a guy that's building such high level vehicles, and that, like you said, you're like, hey, I know that I don't want to get into this thing and then it sit and be tore down. And it's kind of like the painter's house doesn't get painted. So you
Right.
come up with these products while you're building this, and the key is that it's time. It's time to spend away from your truck. It's time that it's tore apart in the garage, and now the boss is pissed off because I went too deep. So finding that balance. So you need people, and we want people to factor that in when it comes into those price points because you're like, listen, one thing is always going to lead to another. It always is going to lead to another. And if it isn't one thing, it's always another thing. So having that and then you working through that is such an important thing when you think about these parts as you're building your truck or enjoying your truck and keeping it on the road. I always kind of
look back on the old days where you're like, hey, I had to drive my vehicle on Monday. Wherever I had to go to
Right.
school, I had to go to work. I couldn't get in over my head. And so having that, we do use these as second, third vehicles. So we're afforded that, hey, I don't have to get this done. But sometimes it's better to get it done and get it wrapped up until you're ready to go all in. Otherwise, next thing you know, you've lost your carport, you've lost your garage, and you're in over your head.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's my thing. Like here at BBT, we pride ourselves on no matter what we build, it's drivable. Like we're gonna get out, drive it, put miles on them. Even the, $500,000 plus cars, they're driven. And so I enjoy driving my vehicles more than I do sitting at a car show. And so for me, like that again, back to the time thing, like let's get it done, let's get it back on the road and let's make it nice, but not overdo it and not have so much downtime with it. And so, that's where a lot of our products come in is to where we have some universal stuff, but most of our stuff is pretty simple to where a guy at home in his garage can install this stuff and put it on. And I think that's, key to what we're trying to do. It's sometimes not in the price point of the guy doing it in his garage, but that's again, we don't want to sacrifice quality for a price point.
Are you surprised at, like you said, with the firewall panel, are you surprised at times? Like, holy crap, like I thought we might sell 5 to 10 of these, and now we're doing a lot better than I thought. And because I think you're right, there's a level there where somebody might just throw the vintage air piece, you can bolt it on, it flaps on, you run through it, and then you start to see one guy do something really unique and cool, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna save up so I can get the Intek piece and kind of really just push through for that because I don't want that filler panel or I don't want to be the same as everybody else.
Yeah, I'm always surprised, I think. And we always test the water. We'll start out small. We'll make, one part, just kind of see how it does. Then we'll make 5 parts, see how they do, because you sell one and you got 3 people interested. Okay, that's 3 parts. It's not like all of a sudden you feel like this influx of anything. And so we always kind of test the water. But like that was one I was really surprised on because I just didn't think that that truck market would be interested in spending that much money on a panel like that when you like you said when you can either weld up the hole or put the flat sheet that vintage air supplies you with. But apparently there's a lot more people that are thinking with my mindset than maybe I thought.
That's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, I mean it's a good thing when you develop something and you can seek the reward of it and other people are interested in it for sure.
Yeah. So it's funny because that product, and every now and then if I get like one person send it to me, then I'm like, okay, this is cool. But on that specific product, I bet I had at least 6 people send it to me where, check this out. Check this out. So there is proof there in the concept. And that, again, that's just got to be one of those things where sometimes you're sitting down and you're like, hey, does the market drive it or do the ideas drive it? And now we need to push it out to market because you work with RS, you're out there, you're going to a lot of shows, you have that availability. And like we talked about before, it's like, okay, it's one thing if it's BBT, but now we're actually making product through Intek and we need to let people know and push that out through different formats, whether that's through pod and social media and again, just builds and people saying, hey, where'd you get that from? Hey, where'd you get that from?
Yeah, absolutely. And like that's the thing that we try to do for sure is even at BBT, we want to use as many Intek products as possible, to show people that, you can buy this stuff and put it on your car. And it's the same product that, we're using again, like I said, on, $250,000 plus cars.
Yeah, even more. Definitely the plus on the 250,000 plus. Let's walk that back again. So when you have an idea, or let's say part of your team has an idea, what's that idea to market look like for you guys?
Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT based power plant? Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's PSIconversion.com. What's up, guys? Who doesn't like to bundle and save? The team at UP Car Parts knows this, and they put together 7 different bundles for you to choose from to save up to 20% off of your lighting. From headlights to taillights to marker lights, UP Car Parts got you covered. upcarparts.com. Save up to 20% today.
So you bought a C10, and it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their SureFit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Damn, son, the choice is obvious. VintageAir.com.
So you're thinking about converting your truck from a long bed to a short bed. Here's what you need. Brothers Trucks long bed to short bed conversion bracket. Includes laser-etched steel templates with all the holes clearly marked and steel inner C-channel braces. It also includes front-to-rear brake lines, shorter parking brake cables, hardware, and all the detailed instructions telling you what to do. You can also jump on Brothers' YouTube channel for a detailed, step-by-step video to make the process easier. Brothers Trucks has an easy solution for you, and they even offer bedside parts as well. BrothersTrucks.com.
You've heard me talk about my gauges. Dakota Digital. I love them. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com.
When you have an idea, or let's say part of your team has an idea, what's that idea to market look like for you guys?
Well, it just depends. Sometimes it's a gap in the market, like we talked about. Like, we're looking at mirror situations, and we could never find a mirror that both looked good and functioned properly. You find mirrors, all these mirrors off this car are awesome. We'll put them on here, and then put them on there, and like they just don't sit right, or they sit right. If they look right on the car, you can't see anything out of them. 90% of the time, it was the passenger side mirror. And so we realized like there's a gap here, and we've just got to fill it. And so that was kind of more of the market driving it. Yeah, we needed to fill that gap too. And then the other instances are we look at things like the firewall cover, where it's like, okay, we want to do this. We're going to do this regardless. If it works, great. If not, no big deal, because we're going to do it regardless. I think the eye booster cover was another one that we did, just because I started running those electric eye boosters on the vehicles that we're building here at the shop. I mean, I don't know how many times we put some supercharged engine or some, big block or something that doesn't make a bunch of vacuum, and you put a vacuum booster on it and your brakes suck, and then you try to do an electric vacuum pump and it's a little bit better, but it still sucks. And so we switched over to those electric boosters, and man, they're just awesome. They work so good. And I think once people really start using them, they're just going to take over the market. But the downside to them is they're ugly. They just don't look good. And so we're building these high-end nice cars, and we're like, man, you can't stick that thing on the firewall, because it's just, it's not proportional. It's not round. It's kind of just ugly. And so we're one of the builds that we're doing, we're like, well, let's just make a little billet cover for it. Actually, the first build we did, we made one out of sheet metal, and then like we want to make some more covers because I had people that were interested in the sheet metal ones, and I was like, well, it's not going to be, efficient to keep making these out of sheet metal. So let's look at, machining them out of billet. And so we did. And then it just took off. But that was that was back to what you're saying. That was a product that we didn't know if there was a gap in the market. We didn't know if it was going to be sellable or not. We just knew that for this high end build that we're doing, that we can't just leave that as is. And so we made that, and then, had some people show some interest in them. And so we started making a few more. And then the next thing it went from, 1 to 5 to 25, overnight. And so it's another product that we make that, we didn't really anticipate making, but it was driven by the interest of people in the market after we made it.
Well, and the point there too is a new product comes to market, which, that Bosch system, I'm not sure when, let's say it's been out for
15 years. Well, now that comes to market in the classic industry, and
Right.
it's like, okay, now we need a product to support that product. And it's funny to hear you say, like, it's kind of ugly, but when you think about a Hydro Boost, a master cylinder, 2 to 3 lines coming off master cylinder, and it's like our brain's like, oh no, that's fine, that's okay. But then you're like, no, this looks so clean, but we have to cover it because we want to cover the wiring. And obviously, usually somebody's doing something with the firewall anyway. So you guys are dressing it up and making it less ugly, if you will. And it's cool to hear that where you're like, hey, we just made it out of a build out of necessity, and now people are jumping on, especially as the eye booster continues to get more popular.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's key is that, functionality, when I first started in this hot rod industry, it wasn't about driving your cars. It was about building these expensive cars and parking them at a show, and nothing really functioned great. And so now it's kind of morphed into like everybody wants to drive this stuff and it's got to work. And so we got to make sure these things function properly. But then on top of that, we want to take into the account of what we're known for, and we want to detail it out and make it clean and nice. And providing these products that other people can purchase so that their stuff can look nice too is just key in the marketplace.
Yeah, the Iron City Blazer, they've done a great job of really kind of pushing that out. We see that engine bay, we see the firewall piece, we see the AC cover, we see the booster. I think that's even where I saw it and was like, pause, hold on, go back. Okay, that looks really clean. And I had planned on running that anyway, but once you start dealing with the wiring and you're like, okay, well, I got to hide this. I got to clean this up. And so well done. And it's cool, like you said, as you guys continue to evolve and make products to support products or come up with something that's ahead of the curve a little bit and getting it out there and, helping the builders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the key is help out builders, help out the guy doing it at home in his garage. They're like I said, most of our products are simple bolt-ons that a guy can do on the weekend in his garage.
Anything else, from door handles to mirrors that you really are either a surprised or that just does really well for you guys that you're like, hey, this is one of our top, products that Intek sells?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we're known for our mirrors. That's what we've been doing the longest. That's kind of what we pride ourselves in. But it's spawned off into other stuff, specifically in the truck market, like you said, the firewall panel, the booster, adapters. I mean, we make an adapter for the booster. So, like, a lot of guys, the booster cover is expensive. It's a big chunk of billet. It's machined. It's pretty up. But like those boosters, to get them to mount to your firewall require an adapter too. So we make an adapter. We sell a bunch of those. Again, the mirrors, door handle stuff, just really across the board, we've got a pretty good line of products that are all pretty consistent with selling. We don't have our top tier stuff that's just off the market. I would say our mirrors are our number one sellers because again, that's just what we've been doing the longest and what we're most known for. But we got some other stuff that's catching up.
It's funny because with your 77, and then just some of the mirrors you guys run, you've got the small mirrors, and in my cycle throughout, C10ing, at one point it's like, hey, legally you only have to have this mirror. You can just get away with like a 67, 68 side mirror, this little dinky mirror. Okay, now we're gonna have a rear view. And then you've got this passenger mirror. And on the square bodies, once you evolve up, you've got your little sport mirror. Well, you have it on the like a 71, 72 as well. And they're so small you can't see anything. I mean, it's hilarious. And then you go to the bigger mirror and you're like, well, we're getting older. I like to see what the hell I'm looking at. It's a safety thing. And I've got a lot of money tied up in this vehicle, so I want to make sure. So it's funny to think about the mirrors and where they come from and just having something that's functionable, fits, and looks really classy. So
Yeah.
you guys offer that in a few different varieties.
Yeah, I mean, we do. We offer all three of those mirrors, like you just said, in our version. So we have what you would call a sport mirror, which is the small rectangle version. We also have that in a round version as well, and those are like a universal style mirror, small, compact. Those will work on your 60. I mean, really, they'll work on anything, but they'll work on your 67 to 72 C10, or even your earlier C10s. And then we jump into what we call our classic truck mirror, which is what I have on my 77, which is our first square body mirror, which was kind of like a hybrid between the sport mirror and the Dumbo. So again, my personal truck. So that's where that mirror came from. I'm like, we're making mirrors. I can't have my own truck and not have a set of our mirrors on it. So we built those mirrors specifically, but I wanted something. My truck had the sport mirror on it, which was smaller, and I wanted something a little bit bigger that had a little bit more visibility. However, I didn't want to jump up to the Dumbo mirror. So we kind of blended that Dumbo mirror and that sport mirror into something a little bit bigger than the sport, but not nearly as big and bulky as the Dumbo mirror. And then of course, I told you where the Dumbo mirror came from. But our key feature in all these mirrors is that typically, like on my truck with the sport mirrors on it, you would get up to 70, 80 miles an hour and then things start moving all over the place. And there's nothing that sucks more than having to adjust the passenger side mirror while you're the only one in the truck. And so all of our mirrors feature a fixed housing. So the housing does not move and the mirror pivots in the housing. So it blocks the wind. So for instance, we just put 1,900 miles on my truck 2 weeks ago on a road tour, and I never touched the mirrors one time. And I think that's something to be said about the product versus the old classic mirrors or any of these style mirrors on why we're building these and why they cost so much is because they look good, they're nice, but the key thing here is that they're actually functionable. You can see out of them, you can use them, and you don't have to mess with them. Set them and forget them.
Well, I like the hybrid perspective as well, like you have on your truck, because for whatever reason, one thing that I think you battle is we're used to seeing what we're used to seeing from, let's just say, said GM, right? The Dumbo mirrors, for example. If you sat down and you're like, hey, we need a bigger mirror, this is what we're going to do, I don't necessarily think people are going to develop that mirror. It's that we see that mirror and that when you see something that might be a little different, you're like, I don't know. And you're so used to seeing the same thing. And I guess we like that. We like the tradition. And for you guys to develop that hybrid mirror in between, because again, it just has to be more functional. The sport mirrors they're pretty pathetic. They look cool, they're small, but they don't really work all that great, and they're so small. And then having the technology now, and that's where we're at, where it's like, hey, we can wire them, we can put directionals in them, we can move them. So there's a lot of things that are definitely coming up to that level where you see that product stuff kind of filling that gap, and you guys are doing that. So kudos to you guys. And then again, for the audience, hey, if you haven't decided on what mirror yet, the other thing is how many damn holes are in the side of your door? So it's like, oh yeah, I had sport mirrors on there at one point. Then somebody put the Dumbo mirrors on there. Then somebody put the old 3-post mirror on there. I've got trucks that have had the huge mirrors on it, like a trailer mirror or a tow mirror, and then you see at some point somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to fill those holes in. I'm going to put a small mirror on it." So it does get a little carried away with just mirrors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was part of the thing with the Dumbo mirrors is a lot of those trucks came with that Dumbo mirror, and they've got those 3 bolt holes on the side of the mirror. And once the holes are there ain't really much you can do about it unless you want to weld them up and paint them. So
Yeah, if it had a sport mirror, you could cover it up, but to go the other way,
right.
it's funny. The Blazer that I'm building right now, it had the Dumbo mirror, and what happens is you get that paint mark where it's like, yep, this is not going away really ever,
Right.
unless you're going to redo it, paint and body. Anything new that's coming up, or do you kind of wait and kind of keep things to hold them tight to the chest and then you release them? Because that's another thing I think in our market is you're going to get copycat people. I don't necessarily think at a high-end product that you guys are selling, you're going to get too many people that are going to quote unquote copy. But do you ever feel like, hey, I want to wait to get this to market?
I mean, right now, I mean, that's our newest product is those Dumbo mirrors. I mean, we just kind of released those within the last month or so. Um, we're small. We don't have a lot of manpower to run this thing, so it's trying to keep it manageable right now and just grow the volume of the certain products that we have. But we've got some other stuff in the works. But we really try to. Our big key thing is we want to proof stuff out before we take it to market. So we typically will make something. Most of the time, it's going to be on one of our vehicles that we're building in the shop, or something that's close to us to where we can get it on a vehicle and make sure everything's proofed out before we run it to market. So right now, I think we're pretty set on the products probably throughout the rest of the year of what we're doing. Everything's kind of listed on our website, so nothing new and groundbreaking in the works at this moment. But I'm sure we're going to get bored over the next 3 or 4 months, and there's going to be something new coming out. We're always developing more mirrors. Our aero mirrors, which is what you're seeing mostly on like muscle cars, street machines, that sort of thing. We're constantly adding new bolt-on. We have universal arms, but we're trying to add more bolt-on options for different vehicles. Like we have a C10 option for those mirrors now too, as well. So like a 67 to 72 C10 can run our modern style, pro touring-ish billet mirrors. So we're constantly trying to add different arms to that mirror so you can run it on different vehicles. But that's kind of the biggest growth we're having right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, you've kind of found that niche. It's filling the void, and I'm glad that people are finding finding Intek and continuing to use you guys. How about a gap in the market? Is there anything else like for me? I look at like Marquet leaving, and
Yeah.
that was a big thing. I don't know if somebody's going to buy them. I'm not sure what's happening with that. I haven't followed up on it lately. And there's plenty of products out there that people are, offering, whether that's AMD, LMC. I just feel like that higher level. But do you see anything else in the market where you're like, hey, or what is your 2 cents on that, on the
Um,
Marquet stuff?
yeah, I mean the Marquet thing is pretty wild because they were developing nice stuff. So to see that leave is not real exciting. But for us, we're trying to keep things somewhat small. I mean, you get into that bigger product line where they're doing the side trim for the trucks and the bed stuff. Like you got to have more space. You got to have more manufacturing capabilities. It just gets a lot bigger. And so we're kind of trying to stay, in that smaller marketplace where we can keep it a little bit more compact, and we're just really focused on details and quality. When you start getting into those bigger product lines, it just becomes a lot more expensive from a manufacturing standpoint. And then, of course, you got to pass that on to your customer. So, Marquet with that side trim that they sold, that stuff was so nice. And at the price point they were selling at, yeah, it's expensive. But if you look at it from like a manufacturing standpoint or from us as car builders standpoint, you're like, man, this stuff is actually pretty dang cheap, you know?
Yeah, and to think, you almost kind of just, I don't know, I kind of wish they would just focus on maybe trim, or whoever buys it can separate that from the bed wood and all that. I mean, I get why they did the bed wood with the strips, the inner strips is something else that has to be made, and so you're like, okay, well, why not just do that? But I like your point. You're like, hey, we're gonna stay small. We're gonna keep it so we can handle it, and we can make sure we're getting high quality products out to the people, and stay up with the pace. Whereas sometimes you be careful what you wish for. Bigger is more problems, more headaches, more issues, and yeah, it's a good thing. It's not a good thing for Marquet. I hope somebody buys it and again separates it. I haven't heard anything lately, but yeah, we'll see what happens. A little, I think that some of that's just bad business too. Some crooked stuff from David, the guy that bought it and took it over. So, I don't. Someday I'll do a report on it. We'll see. So, anything else to push out? Anything else? I mean, obviously the mirrors, the firewall, the eye booster cover, the door handles. We'll push everybody over to the site, and that is INTEKOTTO.com, correct?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think back to what you're saying about, the growth of the company and whatnot. I think that's one of the big things that we pride ourselves on is we're able to be contacted. We reply fast. We have great customer service. We'll handle any issues. That was one thing when we decided to do this. Like, we're not going to do cheap products. We're going to do a high quality product. It's going to be pricey, but it's going to be right. And we're going to take care of people. And we're not going to, I don't know how many times we order parts and you wait 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it may be. Like, we're not doing that. If it's on our website, we got it. If you can buy it, we got it. And and just stand behind our stuff and have good customer service is key. And that's what we're all about. Just because I know you've experienced it, everybody's experienced it when they bought something and they've had terrible customer service. And so my partner and I, Jameson, that was one of the things that we decided from day one was, when we do this, we're going to do it right. We're going to provide quality customer service. We're going to help people out in whatever way we can, and we're going to get them their products as soon as possible.
Yeah, and just for the audience, I mean, Troy and I didn't know each other before this. I reached out to him. I'm working with Bear to get the master cylinder over there. He's been great. I've got stuff that's gonna get shipped out like immediately. And again, the communication's been great. I think that there's something to be said for that in this world that we live in right now. So I think having that high level, not only from the perspective of parts, but customer service, I think at some point we've kind of gotten away from that, and it is appreciated. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. All right, brother. I think really, I think that the lineage, not only is he a C10 guy, but building C10 products, working on high-end cars. You know what? I'll take you out with that. When you look at the cars and the cars that you build, is that why the trucks are so popular? Do you think because you can still find an old 77 and jump in it, tinker with it? And we do see them being very high end, but I also just think that there's so many of them out there, the reliability, the cool factor, because at one point when we were kids, you look at them, you're like, oh yeah, my dad, my uncle, I want one of those, and now you got one, and they're out there, and the parts are out there,
Yeah.
and you can make it as wild and radical as you want, or you can make it, kind of in between, and enjoy it and bring it up to a modern level with a modern drivetrain and suspension, and still has that old bench seat and maybe an old, just a chill radio, and go down the road and drive it 1,900 miles.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's key is the fact that they're available and the price point's better than, a 69 Camaro or, a 32 Ford or, whatever other muscle car you want to compare it to. I think that's key. And just the fact of like it's almost, I hate to say it, but almost more of like an entry level hot rod, from the price point, from the product. If you want to redo the interior in a pickup truck, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than a car with a back seat and rear quarter panels and a full headliner and all that stuff. So I come from the mini truck world. That's where I got my start at. And, the reason we were into mini trucks is because everything was cheap. You could do it yourself. And it was fun. And I think the C10 world provides that same thought process. It's not this over the top, super expensive hot rod. You can still get into them. Like you said, you can build it over the top if you want, but you can also, buy an $8,000 truck and, lower it and, have something cool that's fun to drive without breaking the bank, and I think that's the key. That's how everybody gets their foot in the door, and then it just progresses from there. Whether you're going to do something like I did with my brown truck, to where you just do a little bit here and there, and eventually get it to the point where it's something that you're super proud of and enjoy driving, or if you just want to tinker and cruise around town, or you go the complete other end of the spectrum and you build some 86 C10 that's fully painted and just as nice as any super high end hot rod that anybody in the country is building. So the platform just works well no matter what your pocket or heart desires.
Yeah, and you guys were involved with the Goolsby truck and the Good Guys truck, and you think about some of that. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny to think that you can have an old 77. The funniest part about that to me is that if you park your 77, and I mean, this is no disrespect to that truck or that build, or a build that's $200,000 truck, but a lot of times guys will walk up to your truck and be like, dude, I love your truck, man. And I don't know why that is. Maybe because it's at a price point, it's more familiar, it reminds them of their grandpa, their papa, their tia, their TO, and you're just like, dude. And so it's funny how that works. And at truck shows, we have that variety. We really do. We have a wide variety of people that come in because the C10s have gapped so long. And even before that, with the Apaches and the Tri-5s, it's like, nah, come on, let's bring it all. And the truck community, we are really lucky to have so many great people and so many rad builds, and really the variety that we do have.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we all come into this world because we got into it from something, whether it was a memory or whatever, and that's what drags you in. And so whether it be that, grandpa's truck or, Goolsby's super over the top truck, that's what people are going to be driven to. And so there's a seat for every ass is what we like to say. And that's what makes it fun. So there's something different from everybody. And like you said, you can just do it. You can have the same platform truck and have it just as cool as a, $12,000 truck as it is a $200,000 truck. It's all about the enjoyability that you get out of it.
I agree 100%. All right. Ironically, I didn't even realize it. This is sitting right here, sitting on my desk. That's funny.
There you go.
Sitting right there. Okay. So you guys can check them out. Intek OTTO. That's on IG, BBT Fab on IG. And then again, the intekauto.com, parts and amazing customer service. So check them out. Troy, we're going to take you out. Appreciate your time, brother.
All right, man. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
There you go. Short and sweet, right to it. Enjoyed hanging out with Troy, and I hope you guys dig the SEMA series. It's a lot of parts, but some of these companies, all these companies, they do a great job for us of what they push out. That's what's so great about our aftermarket. You can have, there's entry level all the way up to pretty much the highest level that you can imagine. And if they don't make the part, somebody will. So I hope you enjoy episode 316. Have a great week. Stay out of trouble. Do what you do. Late.